one thing, and I might go on a bit of a rant here. We might not have discussed this before, but one thing I want to point out specifically is all the negativity and
Oh,
all the
you have mentioned this.
yeah, all the abuse and all everything in going on in the world is BCCI's fault. It's getting a bit tiring now. Let's be honest. I'm not sitting here as an India fan. I'm not sitting here as a biased fan. I'm just spitting the facts. Let's be honest. All those journalists from Australia and from England who take the who seem to take the moral high ground, uh, ask the questions of your board first. Ask the questions as to why, when this was announced, why this wasn't questioned from ECB, from CA, from South Africa. You can't come crying now, saying this is all BCCI's fault. ICC is bending to BCCI's money. Hell yes, that's how business works. If you want to, we often forget that you can't be emotional when you're running a sport. I've been there. I've actually worked in this system. You can't be emotional. You can't look at it from an emotional point of view. You have mouths to feed. You have to put food on the table of people who work in the sport.
Yeah, look, of
It's not that
course.
easy to
Yeah.
make these decisions. And another thing wanted to point out is India's yes, India having played all their games in Dubai is at an advantage. Yes, that's correct. But so were England. So were England who played both their games in Pakistan at the same pitch, at the same ground without any travel. So was South Africa back in 2009. I realized this in the Champions
I did
Trophy
read
when
about that.
all the games were played at Centurion, and yet they failed to qualify.
It's
So
interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
don't
look.
come back to us with this morality and show us that Indians or BCCI are some evil
Yeah,
entity.
look.
Well,
Yeah,
every other board will do the exact same thing, and it's not. Sorry, as
I
I
know you
said,
are. All good.
I'll get you. I'll give you a chance to get your
I'll
words
butt
in,
in. I'll butt in.
but the thing is, it's not a cricket issue. It's a geopolitical issue. It's not it's that no matter which
They were never
government
playing
is
in
in,
Pakistan,
it's
right? They were never
they were
playing in
never
Pakistan.
the last they played in Pakistan was 2006. They were never playing in Pakistan, and this is a geopolitical issue. Sort out the geopolitical issues, and then you sort this issue out as well. You can't tell me no matter which government is in power in the in Delhi, India are never touring Pakistan unless the issues at the border are solved. This is a fact. If you can't understand that, and you're honestly telling me there's no issues in Pakistan, then it's not even been 20 years since a team was attacked.
Mm.
You know, are we actually forgetting the fact that the most wanted terrorist was found in Pakistan? Are we actually denying the fact? This is turning into a political podcast, but these are all facts. India was never
Yeah,
traveling to Pakistan. They knew that. Everyone knew that. Ask the questions from your board first, and then point the fingers at others.
yeah. Look, India were never traveling to Pakistan, and we talked about it before even any of the debates or any of the news articles came out. We knew when the Champions Trophy was announced going to be in Pakistan that India weren't going to travel and there's going to be a hybrid. We knew it. We said it a long time ago because of the issues that you've spoken about. Um, but I think that the thing that people get upset about as well, which I actually had a bit of objection to as well, was the actual scheduling, because when you have a team that has to go to Dubai and not play and have to go straight back to Pakistan, that's a blunder, right? I don't care if the boards have agreed to that. It's not right. Now, if the
The
boards
thing
have
is,
agreed to that, it's
Shabel, I'll
wrong.
ask you this question. I'll ask you this question on that topic, on what you said. I'm guessing you're pointing out to South Africa who traveled
South
to Dubai and then
Africa,
had to travel.
yeah,
Could they
correct.
have
And
not waited in Pakistan to get the result of the match?
you could have, but the thing is, the game is the next day. So you fly it the Monday and the semi-finals the
But
next day. Like it's
but
very
that's the thing,
tight, right? You get what I'm saying?
but we are also ignoring the fact that scheduling in these multi-nation tournaments is always a problem. Look at 2023
I
World Cup. South
understand.
Africa.
I understand, Nash, but India had a week break between their second and third game, so they played that Sunday game. I know it's for the advertising revenue and your
Look,
audience in India.
I'm not saying India is not at an advantage. They are, but just to put an asterisk, if India wins, just to put an asterisk towards their win,
Look,
is going to be really pathetic.
to me, I think they're. I mean, I think given the conditions in Dubai in this final, give New Zealand a very good chance given the players that they've
It
got.
does. It does. That's why I'm
If it's in,
nervous.
I wrote last week, if it's in Pakistan, I think India win this tournament pretty easily, to be honest, even though their fast bowlers could go for some runs, but you don't want to be involved in a batting, in a batting, a showdown against India's batting on those flat pitches in Lahore, etc. They'll knock off 400 over there,
Yep.
in my view. So actually, those conditions in Dubai, with a team that's switched on and has the belief, can actually cause India problems there. The issue is that too many times teams and journalists, etc., are trying to look for excuses instead of. Well, I mean, Steve
All
Smith
the
was.
time.
I
All the
thought
time.
Steve Smith was good in his answer. I thought he didn't budge on that on his view that it's not necessarily an excuse for Australia that India played all their games in Dubai and we didn't play any before the semi final. I thought Australia put on a very good show, and if we
They
batted
did.
better in our first innings, we could have done something in that game and take our chances. It's on
And
you. It really
the thing
is.
is, no one had a problem when India played every single game in the 2023 World Cup at different venues. No one
India
had
did
a
do a lot of
problem there.
traveling in that tournament. They
I
did.
mean,
They did
India
do
with
a
the
lot of
India
traveling.
every single game. Pakistan
Yeah,
played at two venues in
I did.
in a,
I
in
did
a,
see
in a
that actually.
in a
Yeah,
in a tournament played in India. So don't give me that crap and
yeah.
bullshit about travel and stuff. India got 2 days to the semifinals in 2023 World Cup. 2024 T20 World Cup. Afghanistan had 1 day gap to the semifinals versus South Africa. India had 1 day gap to the finals. No one was complaining then. And don't
Yep.
get me started on New Zealand's campaign in the World Test Championship a couple of years ago.
What are you
They
saying?
they won everything at home, and then they lost everything at away. So don't give me that crap and bullshit about travel and you're not happy with the scheduling. Every single multi-nation tournament goes this
I
way.
understand, but I've never
Just
seen a
because
situation. I've never seen a situation where a team's travelled to a place thinking they may
but
play or
should
may not play, which I don't
isn't
think is
isn't
right.
that a, isn't that a, isn't that mismanagement of logistics from South Africa?
Not necessarily, Nash, because the thing is, you've got a Sunday game that finishes, right? And you've got a
But
semi
they
final that's
knew.
48 days later, 48
All
hours
I'm
later,
saying,
sorry.
there was a 50-50 chance, wasn't there,
Yeah,
of
but that's
South
not
Africa
right.
having to come back.
But it's not right. It's not right. The fact that you got to travel and you might not play. That's just my point.
That's what I'm saying. But you
The
knew you
scheduling
knew
should have been
that would
fixed.
happen. You knew that was a
It
problem.
doesn't make it right.
It,
Doesn't make it
it
right.
doesn't make it right. All I'm saying is it could be managed better.
Correct. That's all I'm saying. Manage that side. To me, I wrote that I don't care if India play all their games in Dubai. If a team's good enough, this India side is beatable there. They're a very good side, India. But if you've got your head switched on and you execute well and you take your chances and you take advantage of the positions, if you get into a good position like Australia did in that semi final, you get the score you're supposed to, and you take your chances in the field, anything is possible. Can you imagine if Australia get 300 and Virat Kohli's out for
Oh,
50? Maxwell takes that catch. It's a different game. All of a sudden, the pressure's on. This is with an inexperienced side. So you talk about an experienced side that can go there and do the business. You can keep India's batting quiet, more quiet than what you would in Pakistan. And I understand that works the other way around with India's bowling, but still, you know, look, I just think
you know, you know,
there's some issues around the scheduling, but in terms of India playing in the UAE, maybe they could have played a game or two in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah, so they travel a bit. But to be honest, they win there anyway. They've been the
yeah.
best side in this tournament. Let's just say it as it is. They've been the best side, and they're always going to be in the final no matter where it's going to play.
And
No matter
my
where they
my
play.
problem isn't with that. My problem is people trying to portray that India is winning only because they're played in Dubai.
Yeah, that's false. You look at India's
That's
record.
absolutely
You look
bullshit.
at India's record in ODI, tournaments going back, you know, over 15 years. Since the 2011 World Cup, India have been a regular feature in these big games and dominating the group stages in particular. So all around the
What
world.
I
So it's not
and
necessarily
what I
just been
honestly
in Dubai.
feel and what I honestly feel, I read this somewhere. It's in front of me at the moment that, and I've said this before as well. I think a couple of months ago, I think last year, so on the podcast is, I really hope at some stage in the next 2 years, India just stops playing international cricket.
No chance.
For no no, I know that. I'm saying India should do everyone a favor and stop. Let's say for 3 years, don't play any multi-nation tournament, don't play any bilaterals, play IPL. I'm being petty. Listen to me. I'm being
I love the
petty.
pettiness here.
I'm being petty, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. India is well within its right not to go to Pakistan and play in
Well,
Pakistan,
if that happens,
and other
it'll be
boards and other
detrimental to
boards,
everyone.
other boards. All I'm saying is other boards are well within their rights to boycott India. That's fine.
Never,
That's fine.
yeah. That would be
Can you tell
financial
me why
suicide.
Cricket
Yeah.
Australia or why England doesn't want to play with India, but their journalists want to go all out on India? They're asking ICC to have some balls, but why not ECB or Cricket Australia? That's my question.
That's a fair
That's my
point.
real
That's a
question.
fair question because they
I
can't.
mean, back in
The
2021,
money
when
the money
India
you get from
toured,
playing India is just you can't ignore it.
Cricket Australia was going to be bankrupt. How I know that? Because I was part of Cricket Australia's umbrella back then. That India tour allowed me to keep my job.
Oh,
That
definitely.
that's the impact. That's the impact.
No,
And
no doubt.
how many times have in the past 20 years Australia or England have toured Zimbabwe? Everyone speaks about the small high ground that they want to take, yet they don't look at how many.
Oh
Why
yeah,
does
look.
Australia play Afghanistan in
To,
multinational tournaments?
to me, I've had a go at Cricket Australia in the past because we've cancelled visits from Bangladesh and we don't tour there, we don't tour Zimbabwe, we don't. I'd look at Cricket Australia first from an Australian perspective. For me, if you want to grow the game, you got to do your bit too. But in terms of the India playing cricket, I mean, a lot of the journalists now that are writing this stuff, they would understand if India don't play international cricket, the detrimental impact it'll have right around the world. Because you look at the ICC revenue,
That doesn't
vast
stop their
majority,
narrative. That doesn't stop
vast
their
vast
agenda.
majority is generated by India. It's just unfortunately the reality. You got the vast majority of the revenue
I
generated by
mean,
one country.
it's natural, isn't it? If you have such a cricket-loving country who are absolutely mad, borderline crazy about cricket, they are going to watch any sort of cricket. Don't give me this. There were agendas that India only loves Indian cricket. That's bullshit again. That myth was busted back in 2023 World Cup again when all the non-Indian games were the highest audience. And you saw what happened in Pakistan in the semi-final. The stadium was empty. These are the agendas that are not pointed out. You can clearly see. I'm not radicalized, or it's if you go online, you can clearly see a shift in agendas and a shift in narratives as to it's all about control of cricket, isn't it? And that's something especially the journalists from these countries can't handle and understand. They can understand, they
Look,
just don't want to,
Look,
you
ultimately,
know.
what it is India have been the best side, and they've been a very, very good side around the world in ODI tournaments, in particular the last 15 years. Um, can things be managed better in terms of the scheduling this tournament? Yes, and I think both you and I do agree
And
on
I
that.
agree with that. I agree
I,
with that.
I, I don't think that's right to have, those scheduling things just because you want that India New Zealand game on a Sunday. I understand it brings in the advertising revenue, but you'd still get very good numbers on a Saturday, you know,
Yeah.
and that just makes it easier for everyone to organize and get by. But anyway, look, that's just our view.